The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. In The God Delusion, Richard Dawkins disproves the most popular arguments in defense of religion to prove that religion is not logical and does not serve our advancement as a species. Dawkins takes on the idea of intelligent design, the moral necessity of religion, and critiques the privileged position of religious institutions in modern society. He also pokes holes in the supposedly historical information Neither of these arguments is persuasive because there are holes in the logic. Thomas Aquinas took a cosmological stance, arguing that God must exist because at one point there was no matter in the universe. As such, there must have been a first cause that brought matter into being. He believes this first cause is God. The argument is fundamentally flawed because it does not explain how the first cause, God, came into being. This argument has the same flaw as the chicken and the egg argument. It assumes that God appeared out of thin air to create the world. Anselm of Canterbury made an argument for God based on the idea that God is perfect. The basic idea is that any perfect being must exist in the real world, or it wouldn't be perfect. This logic is circular and assumes that existence is a quality in and of itself. David Hume and Immanuel Kant disproved Anselm by proving that a perfect being can exist only in the imagination. Similar logical fallacies and contradictions exist in the scriptures themselves. Very little of the original biblical text exists because scribes have been copying and rewriting the book for centuries. The book was written long after the death of Jesus, and nobody knows the true author of the four Gospels. The Gospels themselves were chosen randomly from a larger pool of texts, suggesting the original compiler of the Bible was more interested in storytelling than preserving the historical records. Beyond these foundational problems, the scriptures themselves are full of inconsistent information. Jesus was apparently born in Bethlehem because Augustus ordered a census that forced Joseph to travel to the city. That census didn't occur until AD 9, many years of Jesus' supposed birth. And while Matthew and Luke say Jesus was born in Bethlehem, John says that he is not. Both the Bible and Christianity's foundational proofs are deeply flawed and contradictory, and as such not reliable evidence to prove the existence of God. Insistence on faith in God is a widely accepted and privileged position in most societies, even though it can easily be disproven by science. Even though faith in God has no logical or scientific backing, faith in God is a privileged position in modern society. We make excuses that defend the actions of religious people, even if they are not moral. While political belief systems are placed under scrutiny in modern media, similar criticisms of religion is seen as bigotry or a personal attack. While Republicans and liberals are mocked openly for their belief systems, the depiction of a cartoon Jesus or Mohammed has resulted in violence and even death. We put aside issues like access to health care, personal freedoms, and even devalue human life in defense of religion. This is not the same for other kinds of belief systems, and thus religion is unfairly privileged over other kinds of belief systems like science, ethics, and political beliefs. Religion is a byproduct of evolution. If religion wasn't created by God, how did it come to be? Dawkins argues that religion was created during the process of evolution. Religion is a byproduct of the need to follow directions and listen to authority figures. It also has dangerous consequences. Not all evolutionary advancements are beneficial. In the case of moths, for example, evolving to move toward a light source allowed moths to navigate by moonlight more easily. But when humans created artificial light sources, moths died because they were drawn to the light from candles. Religion is a similar kind of evolutionary byproduct. Religion was useful for humans in the early years because it imbued adults with authority. Children who listened to adults were more likely to survive. Problems arose, however, when the children grew up to blindly listen to authority figures who may or may not have had their best interests in mind. Like the moth flying into the candle flame, these adults blindly moved towards what they were told was right without considering their own needs or morals. Religion is also similar to evolution in that it's a learned belief system passed down through generations. Like genetic traits, children have little to no control over their religious lives. In this way, religion persists because it is passed down to unwilling participants who are trained not to question these principles. Our drive to be good is an evolutionary byproduct and is not based on religion or divine intervention. Some people argue that without religion we would have no moral code, but being kind to one another is part of our evolution and development as a species. It is in our genetic makeup to support and love our families. Our desire to help our kin survive is self-serving. If our aim as creatures is to pass on our genetic code, we have a biological predisposition to support others who share our genetic makeup. Our genes tell us to protect our relatives because it means the DNA we share with them is more likely to survive. But being good isn't just about family. We also want to benefit from the skills and knowledge of people around us. The natural selection shows that people who work well in a community are more likely to survive. Symbiosis is an important part of life in the animal kingdom, and human beings are no exception. For example, bees benefit from flowers when they eat their nectar, and flowers benefit from pollination by bees. The two couldn't exist without each other. In our world, we see this symbiosis in how we exchange goods and services. A farmer needs a dentist to clean his teeth, and a dentist needs a farmer to grow her food. In short, we aren't good because religion tells us to be, we are good because it benefits us. It is not only biologically beneficial to love and protect our families, our survival as a species relies on supporting one another. And for people who break the rules and don't give back, they are more likely to be isolated or endangered, will not benefit from the labor of others, and may not have the opportunity to reproduce. In evolutionary terms, it pays to be kind. Morals are a product of our times, and thus shift as society does. Adapting morals from the Bible is an outdated and ineffective way to live. The world is changing faster than ever, and yet we continue to use a 2,000-year-old book as a model for our behavior. If we take the Bible literally, we have to believe it's acceptable to rape women, stone homosexuals, and sacrifice our children to please God. Many stories, particularly in the Old Testament, are full of violence, rape, pillaging, and other questionable morals. Even in the less grisly New Testament, Jesus is sacrificed by his own Father. For many centuries, we have seen a morality shift. What we wear, how we treat our bodies, how we engage in relationships, and how we treat those who look or act differently than ourselves are all dependent on a contemporary moral code. In the 1800s, Americans legally enslaved other human beings, which we now see as morally reprehensible. In the 1950s, it wasn't morally acceptable to get a divorce. Now, our divorce rates are nearing 50%. Morals change as our society changes, and using a centuries-old book as a moral backbone isn't beneficial for anyone. In fact, if we use the Bible as our moral compass, we are likely to engage in selective morality, where we take some stories literally, see others as symbolic, and ignore others entirely. But how do we choose which stories to discard and which to keep? It makes more sense to have a strong moral code that isn't based in ancient scripture and instead focuses on the needs and desires of people living in the world today. The main takeaway. There are no persuasive arguments to prove the existence of God. In fact, arguments for divine intervention and intelligent design are built on logical fallacies and leave more questions than answers. The idea that religion is a moral necessity is illogical, because morals shift as culture shifts. As such, adopting morals from a century-old text like the Bible only hinders social progress. Religion is a self-serving byproduct of evolution, which improved survival rates in some instances by promoting blind obedience to a parent or authority figure. This blind obedience, however, also leads to tribal conflict and religious war, resulting in the unnecessary deaths of millions of people. Ultimately, religion is a failed byproduct of evolution and does not benefit the progress of the human species. Rather than using religion as a crutch for moral righteousness, we should admire the evolutionary necessities of goodness that is innate in all people.
Hi, I'm Rhonda, and this is an exclusive audiobook video recorded for the Audiobook Master Channel. Enjoy your audiobook and have fun learning. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button so you'll get updated on our next upload. If you liked the video, give us a thumbs up and say your thoughts about the book we just covered. Do you want to listen to a summary or review of a book that we haven't covered in the past? Say it in the comments below or send us a message. Don't forget to check our other uploads. Enjoy listening!